Morning, everybody. Got a BR600. This thing's about 4 years old. Looks like it hasn't been serviced in quite some time. Got a no start issue with it. Actually, the note was made a noise and just cut off, won't start back up. Curiously, it spins over really easy. So let's dig into this. I apologize, I haven't put a squat for content lately, but you know, it's springtime and everything's go, go, go. Kind of feel guilty about putting up videos about other stuff while people are waiting on their equipment to get back. But let's dive into this. This is kind of a seasonal thing. You know, blowers are back in operation after leaf season last year and they're starting to show their weakness. I did check fuel. Everything in here is nice and clean. You just remember, you know, I was talking to somebody yesterday about just basic diagnostics. What should I do? It's not, just check the simple stuff. Got good color in there, fuel's clear, there's no water in there. I'm going to check for spark, but I think there's something to do with how easy this turns over. We got compression. I don't hear anything clanking around, but let me dig in a little deeper and see what we get. Well, that didn't take long to figure out. Cleaned up all the dust off of the valve cover as much as I could. Here, let me back out so you can see. But if you'll keep an eye on the rocker arms as I rotate this around, well, nothing's moving. So anyway, we've got a broken cam gear, and judging by the amount of dust, you see how loose these are. If you have a BR600 or 600, 700, 800 commercial use, I'd recommend twice a year adjusting your valves. Steel makes a handy dandy tool. You can modify your own feeler gauge, but it's trimmed so it fits underneath the rocker, and there's enough room to sling a dead cat around in between the valve and the rocker. Anyway, so given that it's 4 years old and has been slightly modified, I don't know, we got new straps on here. We'll tear this thing down and see if we can't put a new cam gear in it. We got a box of BR600 parts. That takes about 10 minutes to strip all that down. It's really no big deal. You'll need a pretty sturdy piston stop. I've just got an old head bolt that's M10 by 1, and you'll have to remove the fan wheel off of here. So just from an external, we don't have any issues. We got a bad seal on this side, but obviously if we're going to take the pan off of here, let me and I think it's important before we go any deeper into this, just to see, you know, how bad the cam is damaged, as to whether we want to do anything with this, because it'll get costly quick. These long block / short blocks from steel are very expensive given the cost of the blower. I want to say these are pushing $300. And you know, the crank with the bearings. I'll show you why the sticky part is when these engines start to get wore out, why you end up with a parts blower pretty quick. So let me tear this apart. We'll have a look on the inside. Okay, so I pulled the excess cover off, and there's what's left of our cam. Here, let me spin this around, get something to poke at this with. Oh, this is great. Need to hold on to that. So, and this, you know, if you adjust your valves on a regular basis and service your shit, you won't have this issue. Anyway, we'll take the bottom pan off of here and see what kind of other damage we might have. You know, or is this just a cam gear and a reseal? You know, the bearings felt good. I didn't have any play in them when I checked it earlier. Okay, lubrication wasn't our issue. Everything got a nice sheen on it. He used to run Steel Ultra. This is running on the traditional orange bottle. And looks like we've got a fair amount of crumbs in here. There's what's left of the cam gear, but I mean, there's should be more cam gear than that. Let's pop this out. See if I can do this one-handed. Let go. Here, let me set this down. I'll pop that out, and we'll do a whole inspection. All right, I got the crank out. I think we can do a nice, easy replace the cam, seals, and get this engine sealed back up. Should be all right. I don't see anything hurt. None of the metal parts got cycled. The bearings feel okay. And I got a little bit of play in them, but not that much. These are not. And they're nice and smooth. No issues there. The drive gear for the cam looks good. And you know, these seals, I mean, you can feel that on there. I mean, there's no grip to it. That's why it was leaking so bad. And also, you know, we'll put a new gasket on the valve cover because it was leaking so bad. That's where all that dust was accumulating from that leak. And just get this buttoned up. You know, the cam cover is good shape, nothing hurt there. Just give everything a good cleaning and get it back together. Okay, finally got some parts in. Got my new cam gear, all nice and shiny. Seals, valve cover gasket, got everything all shiny clean, ready to go. I got some ultra black on here. Gonna let it cure just for a minute. Don't get too crazy with this stuff, except for right here in the corner. There's like a divot, and you need that full. I may skim a little bit more off this. You know, you just don't want too much. You know, you just anyway. It's too easy to use too much. You're only trying to fill a couple of thousandths of imperfection in between that surface and that surface. Need to apply this. This is the cam cover, and here's your rockers. This isn't really a how-to. It just kind of shows you what's in here. It's really not a bad job. Piston cleaned up pretty good, and the bearings feel nice and smooth. I've already pre-oiled them after I got them flushed out and clean, and I'm pretty happy with that. Let me put a few things together. I don't have my tripod today, but you'll get the gist of this. Super easy. It left you little witness marks. Line that top dead center, and we're ready to bolt this up. And then I'll get the rockers installed and the push rods. Next step, push rods are installed. Super easy. There's a nice little divot right there and right there, and these just fall home. I never adjusted these. I didn't take these off. We'll see how far out of adjustment they are when we get this all back together. Again, just some ultra black on here, and then we'll button that down and get it torqued up. But you know, even with the scant amount of ultra black, you know, there's still some squish, but nothing crazy. But you definitely want to have good contact in these little corners right here and right here on both sides, because that's where they will leak if you don't get enough gasket maker in there. All right, everything's all buttoned back up. Valves are adjusted. They were way out of whack. I think that was probably the reason for our failure. Just take this dirty old pig and put it back together. All right, that only took a few minutes to button up and put back together. I want to show you something. So if you look, here, let me zoom you in so we can better see what I'm talking about. So if I pull on the trigger, I'm not operating the throttle, but what you want to look at is this arm right here. When I go wide open, should make contact, and it's not. The throttle cable stretches. So what you want to look for is that sneaky little set screw right there. So just tighten that up, and that'll take some of the slop out of your trigger and actually get you to wide open throttle. Okay? And then we're gonna fire this thing up, get it tuned, and make sure everything is good to go. And we'll put the rest of the covers back on.
All right, hopefully you'll be able to hear me over this. But falls down on its face a little bit. So when we know the valves are adjusted, that's going to be your low setting. I'm going to back that out just a touch. I'm going to add a little bit more fuel to the high side. That was like maybe a little over an eighth. Pump up my idle speed just a touch. Probably wasn't necessary. That was a big bump. Maybe just a tiny bit more fuel on the high side. Call that a win. Get the rest of the plastics on it. Get this one sent back to the customer.